Hello everyone and welcome to our debate between the two candidates running for mayor for the city of Elmira. I'm Jackie Gillis. Let's jump right in and introduce you to the candidates. Incumbent Republican Mayor Daniel Mandel Jr. has been serving the city of Elmira in that seat for 8 years now and is looking to secure his third term in office. Before becoming mayor, Mandel graduated from Corning Community College with an Associate's of Science and was a member of the U.S. Air Force. He also spent 26 years working for the sheriff's office, where he retired as a captain. And the Democratic candidate Jim Hassel, who announced that he would be running against Mandel in April. After finishing college, Hassel joined the U.S. Army and later became an educator at Elmira College and Binghamton University, teaching Spanish and French, where he is now retired from. And before we jump into the questions, we do want to hear what you want to ask the candidates. So throughout the debate tonight, feel free to ask the candidates questions by messaging us on Facebook or texting 607-606-6049. But an important note, that line is only for text messages. Calls will not be answered. Only questions pertaining to policy matters and legitimate campaign issues will be accepted. And a quick recap of the rules for tonight's debate. Our candidates will have 90 seconds for their opening statements. After that, they will have 1 minute to answer my questions. We have a timekeeper and a monitor where the candidates can see their time remaining, and if a candidate surpasses the allotted time, we'll announce stop. We have not provided any of the questions to the candidates or to anyone outside of 18 News. The debate will not have commercial breaks. Before we start, we just want to take a moment to thank you both for joining us tonight and being here. We flipped a coin a few minutes ago just to see who goes first for an opening statement and who goes last with their closing statement. Mayor Mandel won the toss and elected to go last with their closing statement. Mayor Mandel will also go first with his opening statement. And that will be now. Good evening, Mayor Mandel.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank WETM for sponsoring this debate tonight. When I first took office back in 2016, our team received a $3.5 million deficit that we inherited. We have turned that now into a $6 million surplus. We also had junk bond status when I first took office. We now have A- status with our bond status. There was very little development within the city of Elmira. Over the past couple of decades, we have seen almost $200 million happening in the city right now, as well as the revitalization of our downtown. We've improved our public safety efforts. We've hired more police officers, and we've also given our police the equipment they need to help keep the community safe, which is priority number one. Our infrastructure has improved, as people can see in our downtown area, and all of our bridges have been rehabilitated and are now in good condition for at least the next 20 years. When we got our ARP funding from the state, or from the federal government, we immediately invested over $2 million into our citizens, giving each citizen that owned property in the city of Elmira that applied up to $5,000 to rehab their properties. And lastly, we are in a much better position now when I took office in 2016 than we were before. So overall, the city's headed in the right direction, and I'd like to continue that direction. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mayor. And your time is up. We're going to move on to you, Mr. Hassel. You have 90 seconds.
Okay. Good evening, and thank you all as well. I grew up in the South and had my education there. I left it and joined the U.S. Army. I want to tell you about myself a little bit. I grew up in small towns. I learned to love small towns and appreciate their values of construction and community. And so after that, after going into the U.S. Army and learning a lot about what it means to be American, I went to Russellville, Arkansas, where I entered into politics. I became a city councilman, and I also got interested in urban planning and entered a master's degree program in urban planning, and I also got interested in Main Street America and helped develop a Main Street Arkansas program. In 2000, I came to Elmira to teach at Elmira College, and I was not particularly impressed with the city, but I nevertheless came to love it and made it my home, and I'm here to stay, and I see the potential. There's a lot that we need to do, And I believe that you have the desire to do it, and I do too, and I have the experience, and I will love to work with the community to develop a great sense of pride and a great sense of community.
Okay, thank you. And we're now going to begin with our questions. Each question is directed to both candidates. They'll have 1 minute to answer each of the questions, and the first candidate to answer a question will then have 30-second rebuttal opportunity. As per the format agreed to by both candidates, time limits will be strictly enforced. Mayor Mandel, as incumbent, we are going to start the first question with you, and we'll alternate as we move down the list. Our first question, we start with the homeless crisis here in the city. City crews recently picked up a homeless camp under the Clemens Center Bridge, costing the city nearly $7,000. What would you do to keep those kinds of problems from cropping up, and what would you do to help those who may be in need? Mayor Mandel, your 1 minute starts now.
We've already started, actually. It's difficult because these people, a lot of them don't want help. We're not going to allow a campus in the city. We don't want it to fester and become a larger problem, so that's why we clean them up. While we're cleaning them up, we also offer these people help. There's plenty of help with our partners for drug and alcohol rehab and mental health treatment. A lot of these people have what they call co-occurring disorders. They have mental health problems along with alcohol problems. So we try to steer them in that direction. Quite frankly, the no bail situation has hurt us in some of our endeavors because at least when they went to jail, they could be triaged and put into treatment and put into drug court and so forth. But we're trying everything we can right now under the guidelines of the law. We will continue to do that. And we do not want homeless encampments in our community, and we want to get these people help, and we will continue to do that. Get them help, get them housing.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And Mr. Hassel, we turn to you. Again, same question. What would you do to keep those kinds of problems from cropping up, and what would you do to help those who may be in need? Your 1 minute starts now.
I see two ways of proceeding. One, we need a new shelter for the homeless. We don't have one, we used to, and we need to reinstate that. Secondly, we need to coordinate more directly the various services, including police, social services, psychological services, mental health care, in order to get these people working more closely together so that we can get better treatment for the people and better care and get them off the streets.
Okay. And Mayor Mandel, you have a 30-second rebuttal.
Well, we're already doing that. We're already coordinating with our police and these other agencies to do exactly what he just said. So it's already happening.
Okay.
And as far as the homeless shelter goes, there is a homeless shelter right now, and Catholic Charities is looking at expanding that, and so that's already in the works.
Okay. All right, and staying on the topic of homeless camps, let's talk about the Centertown parking garage. The city keeps pouring money into it. The top floors have become at times homeless camps. Workers regularly have to clean up garbage and human waste, and the elevators haven't worked in months. Do you think the city should keep spending money on that garage? What should be done to rescue or revive the garage? And do you think anyone dropped the ball causing the garage to get it to its current state? Mr. Hassel, we are going to start with you. You have 1 minute.
I don't know what causes these problems, but I think that the garage is a very useful addition to the downtown, very helpful. I think that it will, that we need to keep it and use it and fix it up and maybe even adorn it with some graffiti or flowers or something. I think that it's going to be a absolutely necessary addition to our downtown when we develop it.
Okay. Mayor Mandel, we turn to you now. Should the city keep spending money on the parking garage? You have 1 minute to respond.
Yeah, basically we inherited this problem too. As you know, for years, the city had a financial issue. We got RI fundings back in 2017, which were basically just for lighting and some other things. It had nothing to do with the infrastructure and elevators and that. So we are getting another 2.2 from our ARP money that we're going to do total rehab of the infrastructure inside the garage. As far as the feces and all that, that's a periodic problem. It doesn't happen frequently. As soon as we find out about it, we clean it up. So it is a very useful parking garage for us. It's getting more use than it ever has been, and we look at basically So that's basically what we're doing right now.
Okay. Mr. Hassel, you, after hearing that, you have a 30-second rebuttal.
I really have nothing to add to it.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on now to our second question, and we're going to talk about sticker shops. The governor says she wants them closed, but there are a number of them open and doing business inside city limits. Right now, none of the ones in our area have licenses to sell cannabis products, so should they be allowed to stay open? Mayor Mandel, we begin this question with you. You have 1 minute.
This is the dilemma. The state, when it passed the cannabis law to legalize cannabis, also put in there you can gift cannabis. These shops have taken a loophole and have actually opened up shop. So we've taken the standpoint from our legal team and the district attorney's office that the state's responsible for closing them. If they need to close them, they need to come in here and do that. We will support them in that endeavor. The bottom line is the dispensaries are legal and they generate tax money for the city up to 3%, so we would welcome them. But the sticker shops, at some point, the state's going to have to take action to basically shut these shops down. They don't know what type of cannabis they're getting at these shops, and that's a problem. So at least with a dispensary, they know what type of product they're getting. Like it or not, right, wrong, or indifferent, cannabis is legal, and the bottom line is with the dispensary, we'll take advantage of it to generate revenue for the city of Elmira.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hassel, same question goes to you. Should sticker shops be allowed to remain open even though they don't have a license to sell cannabis? Cannabis products, you have 1 minute.
I think they should be closed myself, just as I think that immigrants coming to the United States should come legally.
Okay. All right, and if you have a rebuttal, you have 30 seconds.
No rebuttal to that.
Okay. All right, so moving on, bullying in the city of Elmira, in Elmira schools, is a huge problem. We have done stories where parents feel little is done to stop it and believe the schools are trying to hide the problem or ignore it. Should police be more involved in cracking down on bullying if someone reports it? Mr. Hassel, we are going to start with you. Your 1 minute starts now.
Okay, I'm not familiar with this matter. I oppose bullying 100%. I have a child in the schools, and I would be incensed if I knew that he were subject to bullying. So obviously we need to do something about it if it's a problem, and I would hope that the schools could take care of it themselves. I would favor that rather than getting the police involved.
Okay. Mayor Mandel, moving over to you. Do you think police should help crack down on bullying within the Elmira City School District? Why or why not?
This is the bottom line. That's a school district issue, which is governed by a school board and school administrators. If they need assistance from the police department, we will be there to assist them. Let's not forget that the sheriff's office has school resource officers over there to help prevent bullying. I know it is a problem, and that really starts at home with the parents. They should be teaching their young children that bullying is not acceptable, and if they are bullied, they need to know about it so we can correct it. School is a place for education and learning, not for a place for students to be bullied. So that's my position on that.
Okay. Mr. Hassel, you have a 30-second rebuttal.
The only thing I would add to that is that, you know, bullying is a form of abuse, and abuse needs to be taken seriously throughout the city in every way that it occurs. I would favor some kind of a crisis center for people who are being subject to abuse and need to get away from it.
All right, and staying on the topic of law enforcement, what is your opinion about the quality of the job that law enforcement does in Elmira? Does anything need to change? Mayor Mandel, you'll start us off. You have 1 minute.
Well, I can speak on experience from this because I spent almost 30 years in law enforcement. Our law enforcement, our police officers, men and women do an excellent job. Okay, what we've done recently is engage them more with the community, developing a community faith-based with the police department to help keep the public safe, to help the police do their job. Our police department's highly trained. They're accredited by the New York State Department of Criminal Justice Services. I'm very proud of this police department. It's one of the most outstanding police departments in the state of New York and in the United States. They treat people fairly, and I've seen many instances where they've helped citizens out and they've kept the public safe. They've done an outstanding job, and sometimes with limited staffing due to the turnover rate, and because it takes a long time to get an officer from training back onto the street. So I praise our police, our men and women in policing.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mayor. And Mr. Hassel, same question. What is your opinion on the quality of the job that law enforcement does in Elmira? You have 1 minute.
My impression is that they do a good job. I do not know personally how much they do. You know, it's not something that I see every day, but I read about it every day. I think they do a good job, and I am intending to meet the chief of police and meet the police and talk to them and find out what their needs are and help them. Help keep them safe themselves, as well as help them keep the people safe.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hassel. Mayor Mandel, you have a 30-second rebuttal.
Yeah, and we're already doing that. We're providing with all the equipment they need, whether it be body armor, whether it be body cams, whether it be you know, new vehicles, everything they need to do the job, we give them, and we'll continue to give them, and we'll do that. You know, not only of our general budget, our operating budget, but we'll also do it through grants. So we'll do everything we can to provide our law enforcement with their needs.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mayor. And we're now going to move to a story that we recently covered here at 18 News regarding First Arena. Last week, the IDA put out a statement saying they were moving forward with evicting the tenants of First Arena due to unpaid bills. Our question tonight is, should the city of Elmira have more of a voice in how the arena is operated, or do you believe a private owner should take over? Mr. Hassel, we are going to start with you. You have 1 minute.
The First Arena is not owned by the city, of course. It's owned by the IDA, and it's run by the county, my understanding. And so I don't really think that the city has a say. It does. I like hockey. What can I say? I like it. But it does have problems. My sense is let's get it back, put back on the tax rolls and put it in private hands.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hassel. Mayor Mandel, same question goes to you. Should the city of Elmira have more of a role in how First Arena is operated, or should it be turned over to private owners? Basically,
I do agree with my opponent's comments on that. First of all, it's owned by the IDA. I wouldn't be opposed to selling it to get it back on the tax rolls. It's actually run right now by a leasee who have leased it from the IDA. I'd like to see the arena alive and well. It brings a lot to our downtown area. It's right in the heart of our downtown. Whether people like it or not that it was built, the fact of the matter is that here, we have to make it work. So I'm in support of whatever it takes to make that arena a live, vibrant place.
Okay. Mr. Hassel, you have a 30-second rebuttal.
No, I think I've made my statement.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And we're now going to turn to some national headlines, which may soon have an impact here in Elmira. The ongoing migrant crisis, it's an issue that seems inevitable to some, that busloads of migrants will come to our area. If that were to happen, how do you think it should be handled? Mayor Mandel, you're going to go first. You have 1 minute.
First of all, the county executive did put out an executive order saying that we were not going to take these illegal migrants into our city. Look, we have enough people. We have to take care of our own here in the city of Elmira. We do not need to be spending our resources on people that basically have come here illegally, okay? So I am strongly against that. You know, it's a problem that's been created by this current administration, quite frankly. And, you know, they need to solve it. They need to fix it. And the fact that New York City is sending these people up here when they've declared themselves as a sanctuary city, it's their problem, and it's not ours. So my opinion is we don't need them, but we don't want them at this point.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Hassel, how do you think the issue should be handled if migrants are brought to our area? You have 1 minute.
First of all, I think it's not our issue. It's a federal issue. The Congress should do something about it. They have not. They haven't done it for 50 years. And it doesn't matter which party you're in. It's the same result. Frankly, I don't see much willpower to solve the immigrant issue. As for them coming here, my only reservation about this would be that I would want to talk to businesses to see what their needs are in terms of employees, and if they have difficulties finding people locally to work, then it might be okay if we can find other people to come in and do those jobs that we do not want to do. Other than that, I think it's not our responsibility.
All right, thank you. And Mayor Mandel, you have 30 seconds to respond.
You know, the bottom line is, again, we don't need them here in our city. We got plenty of people that can fill the positions that are open here in the city for our manufacturing, for our service workers and other things. So the bottom line is we don't need other people's problems here. We got our own.
Okay. We're now going to turn to a couple of questions submitted to us by a viewer. They have one question for each of you, so I will ask the candidate the question where you will have 1 minute to respond. Then your challenger will have a 30-second response. Mayor Mandel, we're going to start with your question. Alan wants to ask you, what is one thing you're most proud of during your time as mayor? You have 1 minute.
All the development that we've had in the city. There's actually been a couple. That's probably the most rewarding thing. We brought a med school here. This was a big win for us. The city worked hard to bring that med school here. We're proud to have LECOM here. It's spurred other development. It's been a huge help for us. It's driven funds into our city. It's one reason why we're in such good financial condition right now in this city. So I would say that is the major one. And other than that, it's the fact that our financial outlook is so much stronger and stable now than it ever has been.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hassel, you have 30 seconds to respond to Mayor Mandel's answer.
I see other issues involved in the position of the mayor. I see really a failure to plan and act in a very comprehensive way on restoration of the city and the communities that are surrounding our downtown. And I also see a lack of interest in historic preservation.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hassel, we are also going to stay with you. Alan has a question for you also. If you could pick only one thing, what would your administration have done differently compared to how Mayor Mandel's administration did? You have 1 minute to respond.
Well, we will develop a comprehensive plan, and we will work to develop community pride and try to address the issues more directly in housing, homelessness, for example, also in just general community development and downtown development in a way that is well organized and has a vision behind it, and it's not done piecemeal.
Okay. Thank you. Mayor Mandel, you have a 30-second rebuttal.
Well, first of all, our comprehensive plan was just updated a little while ago, a few years ago, so it's current. The bottom line is we have urban developers on our staff over at the City Hall, and we also work with the IDA, STAG, as well as county planners, and it's not a piecemeal type of development. We have a plan. We did a community development first, and then now we're doing our economic development within the downtown as you see businesses start to come into downtown. We're going to continue that trend. As far as historic preservation, we have been doing that right through it, and the near west side does a lot of our historic preservation for us. So.
All right, thank you, Mayor. And the next couple of questions, we're going to take a look at the city's infrastructure, starting with Elmira streets. Do you think more could be done to fix up the city streets? If yes, what could you do? And if no, why do you say that? Mr. Hassel, you'll start us off. You have 1 minute.
I think the city does a good job of repaving streets that need it. It's a constant issue, and however, I do think that traffic could be done in a better way. I know that there are issues over roundabouts, right? But I personally favor them in sites where they belong, and we do have some in sites where they don't belong. So that would be one thing that I would look into as mayor.
Okay. Mayor Mandel, do you think anything could be done to fix city streets? Why or why not? You have 1 minute.
Basically, we need to continue what we have been doing. We obviously done a lot of major repairs and upgrades to city streets and that. We've also implemented what we call an overlay system, which saves the taxpayers money. So when there's less travel on a street, a city street, we will do an overlay on that street, and it lasts for a few years, and it repairs the road at a much reasonable cost. So I think overall we're doing a good job. As a matter of fact, the state just came in and did a road grade on our city streets, and they've been in the best shape they've been in almost a decade, so we need to continue that trend. And this is a tough area to actually work on streets because of the weather situation that we have here in the Northeast with the thawing and freezing throughout the winter.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Hassel, you have 30 seconds to respond.
I really don't have anything to add. I think that we just constantly need to stay tuned in to the needs of streets and to repair them when they're necessary. The Church Street was undone for a long time, maybe longer than it should have been, and thank goodness we've got it repaved now.
All right, thank you. And on that same note, there are miles of sidewalks in the city that are in bad shape. This is a two-part question. First, do you consider that a problem? And second, if it is a problem, what can be done and when? Mayor Mandel, how do you feel?
Thank you for that question. It's a difficult problem because city sidewalks are owned by homeowners. So it's basically the homeowner's responsibility to fix the sidewalks. We are currently searching for grants of possibly helping homeowners out. We're in the middle of trying to do that, to do like a 50-50 sidewalk program. Other than that, it does fall on the responsibility of the homeowner. It's difficult. But I go back to the money we did with our ARP funding where we gave homeowners up to $5,000. I know several people, or many people, use that to repair their sidewalks and make them a much better thoroughfare for people to walk in. So it's a challenge, and we'll keep working on it. And any type of grant or funding that we can get to help people repair those sidewalks, we will do it.
All right, thank you, Mayor. And same question to you, Mr. Hassel. Are the sidewalks in Elmira a problem? If so, what should be done and when? You have 1 minute.
Most cities in the U.S. do exactly what we do. They require the people who live on that block or in front of that sidewalk to repair their own sidewalks. I don't think that's a healthy thing to do. First of all, they're expensive, and second of all, they are really, in some sense, the responsibility of the city. So I think that some kind of a program where there is a division of contributions to it on the part of the owner of the house maybe and the city would be a good idea.
Okay, thank you. And Mayor Mandel, you have a 30-second rebuttal.
Yeah, we wish we could do that with a city sidewalk program. Unfortunately, it would bankrupt the city and much of the cost it would be. So that right now is not feasible to do. So like I said, we'll look to continue to look for like grant funding and whatever we can to help the homeowners because it is expensive to reduce sidewalks.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. And we're going to continue with our infrastructure questions. What should Elmira do, if anything, to develop its riverfront? Mr. Hassel, you're going to start us off with this one. Again, you have 1 minute.
Developing the river, we have a beautiful river. And we've known our troubles with that river, but it is a magnificent river. We need to develop it. It should be incorporated. The development of that river should be incorporated into the development of downtown Elmira. And by downtown, I mean the north and the south side. So I definitely favor it. It's a beautiful river, and we can enhance that beauty, and we can develop it for more recreation. I highly favor that.
Okay, thank you. And Mayor Mandel, do you think Elmira should develop its riverfront, and what do you think should be brought to it? You have 1 minute.
Basically, we started with Riverfront Park and doing the renovation on that from our DRI funding that we received in 2016. Basically, we do everything we can to encourage people to use the river. The River Friends does have different things available for river use. Yeah, we'd love to do everything we can to make use and let that river stand out. Unfortunately, there's not a lot you can do with the walls that are up because the DEC will not allow you to impede on those walls, so you have to take that into account when you're doing riverfront development. But we're always searching for ways to make that riverfront more accessible.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Hassel, your rebuttal. Again, you have 30 seconds.
I think there's a lot of potential in the river, and I think where there's a will, there's a way. We'll find it.
Okay, thank you. And staying in the downtown area, what would you do to try and attract more businesses to Elmira? And how would you work with them to keep them here? Mayor Mandel, you have 1 minute.
Well, we've already started, as I said earlier. We started with our community development part of the downtown area, and now we're getting our economic development. So what we do is we reach out to these businesses and we look for certain grants that we can get them through the state or wherever else they're available. And we have done that with our ARP funding just recently over in Clemens Square. So we are reaching out to people that are interested to come in to set up business. We work with Elmira Downtown Development, the IDA, and STAG to bring more businesses into the area. As I said earlier, we have more restaurants now than we've had in the past, and we have other people that are interested in setting up shops here in the city of Elmira and bringing business to the downtown area. So we are doing that now, and we're going to continue to do that. I think we've been very successful, and we're moving along at a quicker pace than I could have imagined 8 years ago.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And Mr. Hassel, same question to you. How would you attract more businesses and keep them here? Again, you have 1 minute.
I think we need to build entrepreneurship from the ground up in Elmira. I think we need to encourage people here who live here, who are vested here, to take up businesses, and we need to support those businesses and to think locally. So I'm in favor of small businesses, in particular in the downtown. I think that we should encourage business growth from people in the area, and that would be primarily small businesses. That's the way I look at the city.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Mandel, you have 30 seconds to respond.
As I said earlier, we will continue to attract small businesses downtown. We have worked with entrepreneurs. We will continue to do that, and you'll see more growth in the downtown in the next 4 years during my next 4-year term. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And let's talk about building programs for our kids. What is something that you would both push for, if anything, to offer more activities for our kids? A community pool, splash pads, community center? Mr. Hassel, you're going to lead this one. You have 1 minute.
Okay, well, we definitely need community centers. Not everywhere in the city, but we definitely need them, and we need to attract kids, but we also need to attract people of all ages to those community centers, and we need to have children interacting with older people as well, and there need to be things for them to do in those community centers. I would even favor possibly placing daycare centers in them. In our parks, we have plenty of room for growth. We can grow the parks that we currently have, and we can also add some. We particularly need a park in the downtown area and in a few other areas, a few other communities in our city. And I would strongly look at this as something that we really need to put attention to.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hassel. Mayor Mandel, what would you do to offer more activities for our kids? Again, you have 1 minute.
There's quite a few of them already. We have 2 community centers in the city already that are being used, Southside Community Center and Ernie Davis Community Center. As far as the parks go, we put splash pads in certain parks. Now we're looking at rehabbing and renovating Brand Park. We're going to be demolishing the pool, putting another splash pad there, make it a destination for kids and families. We also have many basketball courts and other things for children to do. A lot of it comes down to parents and their families and getting these kids involved and getting them into these parks and into these programs. There's summer programs and other things that are available for kids. We support our kids. We want them to stay busy. We do not want them on the street. So we will continue to support places like the Ernie Davis Community Center and the Southside Community Center. And we'll keep expanding on our parks, giving the kids more things to do, as well as improve our skate parks, which I'm working on right now.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Hassel, your rebuttal. You have 30 seconds.
This is the first I've heard of tearing down the Brant Park pool. That's a foolish idea. There are very few of those in the United States left. It's of historic interest to the city, as is the Maxwell Place Fire Station behind Wegmans, which in the last 8 years has been sold off for $1 because the city let it deteriorate so much. It is a magnificent structure and should be preserved and developed into a museum or community center. And thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving now to some policy questions. Chemung County Executive Chris Moss recently signed legislation to give term limits to county officials. Do you personally support term limits? Why or why not? Mayor Mandel, we're going to start with you. You have a minute.
For the city, it's difficult. I can understand that on the county level. The problem with the city is we're having a difficult time finding people run for council seats. So term limits and even mayoral seats. So term limits may not be feasible at this point, but it's something that we can explore. The bottom line is the city of Elmira residents make term limits by voting their elected leaders in and out of office. If you're not doing the job, you get voted out. If you're doing the job, you stay in office. So at this point, I'm not necessarily in favor of term limits, but as, like I said, going forward, maybe it's something that we can explore. Because I know what happens when people stay in office for a very long time, they have a tendency to get stagnant. But what is that limit? So the bottom line is that the taxpayers and the residents of the city of Elmira vote for their elected leaders. And if they're being effective, they stay in office. If they're not, they don't get reelected.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Hassel, do you support term limits? Why or why not? Again, you have 1 minute to respond.
I do support term limits. I think making a career out of politics is a disservice to democracy. And personally, I think that my personal point of view, I think that 2 terms is what we should limit it to. Mr. Mandel has had his 2 limits. He's 2 terms. He has shown us what he can do. We need new leadership. And I personally will not stay in more than 2 terms. I think that everyone is expendable, and we need always an influx of new ideas. To think that other people are not going to take up the flame is simply wrong.
All right, thank you. Mayor Mandel, you have 30 seconds to respond.
Well, to think this, I'm going to make this a career at $11,000 a year is not true. I basically do this job because I love this community. I've been effective. My record shows I've been effective. You know, whether I run another term after this, we'll wait and see. But basically, it goes back to the voters of Elmira. If they feel I'm doing my job, which I strongly feel I am, and as others have told me, they've been very pleased with the direction of the city of Elmira, then let them make the decision. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Taking a look at statewide policy, it's a polarizing topic, New York's gun laws. Do you agree with the state of New York's recently established gun laws? Why or why not? Mr. Hassel, we are going to start with you on this. You have 1 minute to respond.
What gun laws are you
referring to?
It was passed by the legislature and the governor signed it, which basically means you have to do 16 hours of training, you have to do a lot of other things.
I favor things that will prevent Uvalde. And so I generally take, my position is that it's not up to the city to judge those matters or to deal with them, but it is up to the state and the federal government, and they ought to do something about it. I think that we should have common sense laws that will require people to register their guns, keep them locked up when they're not in use, and we should red flag people who are a threat.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hassel. Mayor Mandel, do you support New York's gun laws? Why or why not? You have 1 minute.
Not the ones that were just enacted. I mean, you can't carry a weapon now into certain areas, which basically leaves it wide open for bad guys. You think if a bad guy is going to go into a mall and say, geez, I can't carry my weapon? Wrong answer. The bottom line is before these laws were enacted, New York State already had the toughest gun laws on the book. I never known once for a gun to sit on a table and fire itself. The problem goes back to the individuals that have the weapon. People, you know, I believe in background checks. People with mental health problems should not have that. It comes back to family members and friends. If they see someone that has a weapon that's illegal, they need to turn it into the police. Or if they have it legally and they're not acting in a manner that is conducive to owning a firearm, they need to also bring that to the authorities so that can be looked at. I support the Second Amendment full-heartedly. And again, it's not the guns that are doing the killing, it's the people. If they're not using guns, then they'll use knives, cars, or whatever else they can get their hands on.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Hassel, you have 30 seconds to respond.
My position I've just stated. I will say, however, that to say that guns aren't doing the killing, that it's people, well, or it's people that are doing the killing is exactly right. It's people, but the guns are doing the killing. I mean, let's face it. So what do you do about that? I don't have a solution for that right now. I just say that we need to look at ways to try to prevent guns getting into the hands of the wrong people, and we need to, yes, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. And staying on the topic of guns, some are concerned with the number of gunshot reports and gun violence in the city. What would you do about the amount of guns in the city and gun violence? Mayor Mandel, we're going to start with you. You have 1 minute.
Well, we've already started a lot of that. Of course, some of the gunshots that come over as reported as gunshots aren't necessarily gunshots. They're firecrackers or misreported. What we did do is we did install a flock camera system that's supposed to help with identifying those individuals that may be involved with a gun shooting crime. Those flock cameras work on what they call a hot list to identify problem vehicles. They are license plate readers. So that's one thing we've done. We gather intelligence on individuals through different sources. I'm not going to get into the details, through our Detective Bureau and other resources with our other law enforcement partners to help keep the city safe. The bottom line is gun violence, again, starts at home. A lot of our gun violence is involving people that are teenagers. What is a teenager doing with a gun? Where are the parents? So we do everything we can to, stop gun violence, and we will continue to do that to make this city safe.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Hassel, same question goes to you. What would you do about gun violence in Elmira? You have 1 second to respond.
I think we need to keep the guns out of the hands of the wrong people. If young kids are getting the guns and using them, then we need to make sure that they don't get them. And if that means making parents of non-adult children responsible in some way or other, then that's what we need to do.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Mandel, if you would like to respond, you have 30 seconds.
Yeah, the bottom line is bad guys get guns. We got to try to do everything we can, and it comes back to people making sure that their guns are locked up, and store owners that own gun shops make sure those are locked up so they don't get stolen. And a lot of those guns are not coming in from the New York State. They're actually coming in from other states. But anyways, we will continue to do everything we can to keep our citizens safe from gun violence. Public safety is one of my first priorities of the citizens of the city of Elmira.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And a problem the nation is dealing with, including us here in Elmira, is trying to deal with opioids and drugs. What would you do about the drug problem here in Elmira? Mr. Hassel, you're going to go first. You have 1 minute.
Well, I think we need to tackle that problem. I mean, it's a serious problem. It involves crime, and it may involve some of these unlicensed boutiques as well. I think that we need to treat people who are drug addicts, and we need to get the police working more in conjunction with social services, mental services, and we need to provide the help for these people to get them out of their addiction as best as we can.
All right, thank you. Mayor Mandel, you have a minute.
Well, the police department is not social workers, but anyways, bottom line is when the police make an arrest, we try to get those people when they come into a facility, a jail or whatever, get them in the drug court to get them treatment. That's the biggest part. We have partners throughout the community that offer drug and alcohol treatment to those individuals that have drug and alcohol problems. But the bottom line, when it comes to drug and alcohol abuse, it starts with the person themselves. They have to want to stop. We'll do everything we can. Again, the no bail laws are making our job that much difficult. You catch someone with an amount of marijuana, or excuse me, not marijuana, but of narcotics or fentanyl or anything like that, they're right back on the street. That's not doing the person that's addicted any favors, and it's not doing the quality of life for our citizens any favors. So we do everything we can to get these people into help, and we will continue to do that. And those that violate will be arrested, and sooner or later they're going to have to go to court and face the charges.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Hassel, you have 30 seconds.
I have nothing more to say about the topic.
All right, and in another question from a viewer, a resident asks, what would you do about absent or out-of-state landlords in Elmira and properties that are in disrepair and lowering property values? Mayor Mandel, we're going to start with you. You have 1 minute.
Well, we've already started doing that. We went up and received a City Rise grant a few years ago. My team went up to, myself included, to Harvard, and came up with a City Rise $1 million grant to enact and start attacking this problem. One thing we came out of this was 1- and 2-family rental inspections, which we weren't mandated to do before, so we received funding for that. So we're looking at these properties, we're assessing them, and citing them when they're in disrepair and uninhabitable. Our code department's out there working vigorously to cite this. A lot of these properties that are bought by out-of-town landlords are actually bought on the auction. I know the county's doing better in trying to vet these people on the auction, but it's a problem when people buy properties. They come in from out of town, and it's very difficult to stop them to do it. So enforcement is big on our part as far as having code, enforce the code laws, doing our inspections, and getting these people to fix their houses.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hassel, what would you do about absent landlords and properties in disrepair? Again, you have 1 minute.
I think we need to enforce codes better on delinquent landowners, and we also need to raise the taxes on them if they are not in the city of Elmira. And I think we need to make it very uncomfortable for them to own homes in the city. As for the houses that we sell, I think we can do a much better job of getting those to people who are locally vested in Elmira and who want to make it their home.
Okay, thank you. Ray Randall, you have 30 seconds to respond.
You can't raise taxes on people that buy towns or buy homes in the city of Elmira from out of town. That's discriminatory practice and it's illegal. Basically, we are enforcing code. There is a due process when it comes to code violations, which sometimes makes it difficult for our code enforcement. But they do follow through. We're going to continue to tackle this problem, and we're going to continue to invest in housing in the city, which we have through different grants and that.
Okay, thank you. And sticking with viewer questions, another viewer wants to know, what do you think the city does well to preserve our local history? If you think something needs to change or should be done better, what would that be? Mr. Hassel, we're going to start this one with you. You have 1 minute.
I'm very strong on historic preservation. It's something that the city has done extremely poorly and continues to do extremely poorly. Just the mention of what the plans are for Brant Park, the Brant Park pool, is just appalls me. The way the city has treated the fire station, which is a super magnificent building, which our ancestors built with great pride, and the way it is being treated is a disgrace, or has been treated. We tear down, we allow our buildings, the city allows our buildings to decay, and they tear them down and create blight in the city. This has got to stop. We have to stop this now. Look at what happened to the Armory some time ago. We are just not doing what is right and for our city. If we expect to regain pride, we have to do it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hassel. Ray Mandel, same question. Does Elmira do a good job at preserving its history, or what could change and or do better? You have 1 minute.
Yeah, I think we've done well to preserve our history. Some of our historic properties, like the pool that was brought up, basically it was left in disrepair well before I took office. That's why it has to come down. To try to rejuvenate and renovate that pool would be extraordinarily expensive, and there's just no way we could even afford the upkeep on it. So with that, we have done other things throughout the city. We know that we have a historic preservation commission that holds people accountable, make sure they're upgrading their historic properties when they go to them. And again, the Near West Side does a lot with historic preservation within the city of Elmira. The Armory, that's another one that was let go. Again, that was way before my administration. And a lot of the historic properties that are owned in the city are owned by homeowners. And if you go down Maple Ave, you'll see where a lot of those homeowners have renovated and turned those old Victorian houses into nice houses. We've had developers come in and do the same thing throughout the city of Elmira. So you can always do things better, but I think we've done a pretty good job overall during my administration.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Hassel, you have 30 seconds to respond.
Well, as I say, I don't think the city does a good job. It hasn't done it in the past, and it's not doing it now. The city seems to think that it can disobey its codes. It wants to enforce codes on other people, but it will not enforce its code when it comes to its own buildings. I think that's a disgrace.
Okay, thank you. And let's talk about the Welcome to Elmira sign. It's been defaced a couple of times in recent years, with a number of residents saying that Brian Williams should be taken off and replaced with someone else. Do you think the city needs a new welcome sign, and should Williams be replaced? Why or why not? Mayor Mandel, we're going to start with you.
The bottom line is yes, it does. That's in pretty poor condition. We're working on it right now with our ARPA funds to put something new and different where that sign is right now. It's a gateway to our city, so we need to put something up there that's appealing to people when they come into the city of Elmira. As of right now, that sign basically does not do that. It's kind of worn its use out, so we are currently working on that. In the next probably year or year and a half, you'll see a new Welcome to Elmira sign.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Hassel, do you think the city needs a new welcome sign, and should Brian Williams be replaced? You have 1 minute to respond.
Now, I don't know about the Brian Williams thing, but I would say that sign is in not very good shape. Probably should be replaced, and I would be happy with that.
Okay, thank you. And Mayor Mandel, if you would like to respond, you have 30 seconds to do so.
No, they basically agree with me, so.
Okay. And we start to wrap up tonight for our final 2 questions. For these 2, you'll both be responding to the same question for 1 minute with no follow-up rebuttal. So Mayor Mandel, we're going to start with you. What would you say is your biggest accomplishments, not just in politics, but in life?
Meeting my wife Sherry and getting married over 30 years ago and raising a beautiful daughter. That's one of my biggest accomplishments, something that you can never take away. Also working for the Sheriff's Office, I made a lot of accomplishments there throughout my career. Representing and serving our country for the United States Air Force was also a big accomplishment for me. And helping my dad run his business at Mandel's Restaurant for many years, a very successful business, was another major accomplishment outside of politics. Vested in this community, I love this community. So there's a lot of accomplishments that I'm proud of. And so.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Hassel, same question. What would you consider to be your biggest accomplishment in life?
You know, I living. I think that I have had lots of good friends. I have had a great profession that I loved, and I think I've had a really important impact on students and on their future lives, not just in what I taught, but in what I taught that wasn't necessarily related to what I was supposed to be teaching. So I think that I have been a strong contributor to local communities where I've lived, and frankly, I'm proud of the things that I have done, and I'm happy that I am able to contribute. I really feel as though I have a lot to contribute to this community. I have a lot of experience in urban planning and whatnot. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hassel. The final question for our debate tonight is, what is one thing you admire about the city of Elmira? Mr. Hassel, we're going to start you off with this last question.
Well, I like its history. I think we should do a lot more to feature that in many, many ways. There are so many ways we can do this. I like the river. I love the river, in fact. I think that we could really enhance it and enhance the natural beauty of this area in every way, not just the river, and the way the city works in this particular universe, in the particular universe where it's located, is really magnificent. I think that we have so many opportunities to make this town work in a beautiful way, and I just like to contribute to it.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Mandel, what is something you admire about Elmira?
It's interesting. An individual from out of town came here today and remarked on what a beautiful city we have and what a great place it is to live. And I admire that about this city. I also admire the people in the city. It's a wonderful community. We all work together. We have great community partners, great neighbors, and it's just a wonderful small town. Not only that, it's located perfect. I mean, you're just a few hours from New York City, you're a few hours from Syracuse, Toronto, wherever else you want to go to visit, and not put up with the hustle and bustle of a major city and come back home to good old Elmira, New York. We have a lot of heritage here, a lot of famous people that came from here, and it's just a wonderful place to raise a family. Cost of living is fantastic, and it's the one thing I really admire about this city. No place else where I'd want to live, and I hear that from a lot of people. It's the best place to live in the state of New York.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Time now for our closing statements. You'll each get 1.5 minutes for your closing statements. Once again, as a result of that coin flip, Mr. Hassel, you're going to go first.
Well, I want to say that I am running because I believe in this city. I believe that I also have experience in city affairs that allow me to view the city in a different way. The fact that I've lived other places has given me insight into what small towns can be and should be, and I think that Historical preservation is an important part of that. I think redevelopment is important. I think we need to focus on small businesses. And I think that we need to solve our problems. They're not necessarily easily solved. They may never be solved fully, but we need to constantly be attentive to those matters. And I see a great future for Elmira. Developing community is specifically really important. We have not given attention to some of the areas of the city that really need it far more. And we're going to do that in my administration. We're going to look at the people who really need attention, special attention in this city, and we're going to devote it to them. We're going to get new programs in entrepreneurship, and we're going to try to redevelop the downtown as well. But I'm really strong on making Elmira a beautiful community which fosters growth and pride.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hassel. And Mayor Mandel, you also have 90 seconds.
It's quite clear that Elmira is headed in the right direction over the past 8 years under my administration. I'm looking forward to continue that work for you. Everything from development to our budget, holding the line on taxes. We've seen more people move into this city, improving our infrastructure, and everything else that we've done for the city of Elmira. I will continue that. I promise to continue that. We have a lot to offer. There's more development coming down the road. We've got 2 major projects in the work right now, with possibly another 3rd or 4th, which I'm confident will be coming as well. As we continue to build Elmira, keep our community safe, I will work hard for everybody in the city of Elmira. As I say, I have shown and I will continue to show that I have given dedicated service as people see me out in the different community events that I attend, working for the people of the city of Elmira. And I've also delivered proven leadership that I can lead this city and continue to lead this city for the next 4 years. I would like to thank everybody tonight for tuning in for this debate. I'd like to thank WTM for holding this debate. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And that's going to conclude our debate for tonight. I would like to thank both of you for coming out and joining us here. The general election will take place on November 7th, so make sure you're registered to vote. And as we get closer to that November election, here's a quick look at some important dates that are quickly approaching. June 27th will be the New York State primary elections. You have until June 17th to register to vote for that primary. And you have until October 28th to register to vote in the general election. And we want to take a moment to thank you both for coming and thank you guys for watching. Have a great night.